next day. I had my crochet club. I didn't want to go, and all my friends on Facebook were saying that, I should go. Instead of sitting home crying, I should go. And, you know, when everybody saw the picture of the gash, they were just like so, they felt so bad for my daughter, and they were being comforting. One kept saying most dogs can be rehabilitated, and one person said I was being extreme, and I posted a picture, and I said, "Is this being extreme? What if he would do this to another kid? What if he would kill somebody, a child?" And she unfriended me, and I was like, you know what, good riddance. Good riddance. I don't need a friend like that. And then the other ones, after they saw the gash, and they said, well, it's really not normal that they would do that. So, I guess rehabilitation wouldn't work. And I mean, he went to dog training twice. He failed the first time. And the second time we found out he had those anxieties. And she was saying that that wasn't normal, that, so maybe he was beyond rehabilitation. And most were saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry for you. And I was just crying and crying. And my daughter was miserable because she can't, this is her right hand. This is the hand that she draws with, she crochets with, she sews with, she's on the computer learning, she's trying to learn how to do animation, and she was miserable, and she couldn't do anything that comforted her because her hand is wrapped up, it's swollen like this, seeping blood, seeping fluids. She's like, Mom, I can't just sit home. Please, let's go to crochet club. I need to get out of the house. And, so we went. We went out, and I honestly just tried to stay out as long as possible because all I did while I was home was crying. Basically, what my husband and my son were doing, just watching TV all day. Not to think. My husband doesn't want to think about it because he said he was hurting. He said he was so happy he didn't have to go back to work. He was so happy it happened over the weekend. And a lot of people kept telling us, his friend, his co-workers were like, we're so sorry you had to do this, and they were the ones who convinced him to go. You're gonna regret if you're not there for your dog in the end. They were all saying, the upside to this is that it happened to your daughter and not to one of those children, because they all know, all the kids here for some reason like to play back here, I guess because of that big field we have in the back. And and I was like, yeah, I understand that, but could it have been her left hand? I mean, she is so miserable. And they told us we had to make an appointment in 5 days to have the stitches taken out, and there's not a lot of doctors here. I don't want to go into Houston, and we wound up having to take her back to the emergency. It was actually a clinic. It's an emergency clinic, and they were the only ones who would accept her Medicaid, and so we had to go back there to get the stitches out. But her hand was swelling so bad, the stitches were popping out. Her hand was just seeping fluid. It was starting to get black and blue and yellow and red and purple. And she's miserable. She can't do nothing. First of all, on Thanksgiving, I went off my diet. But I tried to go back on it again. It's the holidays is usually when I go crazy. Wind up gaining like 15, 20 pounds. I bought chocolate cakes, chocolate this, chocolate that. I was just eating chocolate that whole weekend. By Sunday morning, I mean, you do feel good for a little while, but by Sunday morning, my intestines were exploding. My stomach was in so much pain. It's like you pay the price. You pay the price for doing that. I just felt so bad for my daughter, and every time I see her hand, I know we made the right decision, but my regret is that they didn't put him on a table, and all I wanted to do was hug him and hold him and kiss him. That was my biggest regret that I didn't get to do that. But other than that, I was just so thankful at how peaceful it was, and how quick it was, and my daughter wanted to go to church. We've been going to church again, and I thought, okay, we'll go to church and maybe we'll feel better. The sermon was about death. The pastor's mother had just died. And so the sermon was about death, and he was talking about how many people have suffered this year with so many things. And I was like, this has been one of the freaking hardest years we've ever had with this stupid forced insurance. Don't believe those stupid commercials that say that, oh, it was only $100, $75. Bull crap, it's a lie. People think this is going to help them. People need to actually get on that website. It's a lie. I think it was like $600 a month. And they only covered 60%. And, they're not allowed to deny you for pre-existing conditions, but they can charge you a heck of a lot more. It's all a lie. And, between that money being taken out of our check, having to move to a place where my husband's making $10,000 a year less, no hope of overtime, $400 more in rent. This has been one of the hardest years between this, trying to train Juju for 2 months, and then she backslid, and I had to train her for another month. What the stress I went through with that, and my husband's brother died. He had to go to New York. I mean, all the changes, emotional changes that brought on. I mean, and then now this right before Christmas, 2 weeks before Christmas. So I had to take my daughter to get the stitches out. 2 of them popped out on their own. And they said, this is infected. I was like, what? He said, this is infected, and she could lose the use of her hand. I have been taking my daughter back and forth to the hospital all week to get it cleaned out and to get shots because the antibiotics weren't working. They had amoxicillin. They gave me something stronger. Plus, they had to inject her every day to get the antibiotics working in her hand so she didn't lose the use of her hand. And they said I had to go in to see a hand specialist, and the only one was in Houston that would take her Medicaid. So, all I wanted was to have a peaceful Christmas, work on some projects, and just have a nice peaceful 2-3 weeks before the new year came. And it was back to the daily kind of going back and forth with my son to his doctor and her doctor, and therapy and psychiatry and psychiatrists, and I'm back and forth to the hospital it's a clinic, it's an emergency clinic, and with her every day, and those shots are painful. And when our children hurt, we hurt, And they said that when they inject you with such a strong antibiotic, it burns and it hurts. She had black and blues on her butt. That was how bad it was. And now next week, the last thing I wanted was right before Christmas to have to be going into Houston with that horrible traffic. But I have to take her to the hand specialist because that swelling she's finally able to move these 2 fingers. So just to see if there's anything else that needs to be done. That they said the x-ray showed nothing broken with the bones. They didn't see any tendons from what they could see were broken. So just to make sure, I hope he doesn't have to open her up again, because that would be horrible. It's finally starting to heal. I had to go get supplies, more money. I have to clean it with a saline, and first they told me to put antibiotic ointment, and then the doctor said you're not supposed to, and then she has to have it wrapped. But since we didn't put it on, it ripped off the scab and opened it up again, and oh, the nurse said, who told you that? You know, it's like, oh, they tell you so many different things. So they say use alcohol. We were using peroxide. No, you have to use alcohol. And then the alcohol started burning her. So we had to buy wraps for her hand, gauze for her hand, saline to clean it out. So alcohol wouldn't burn. And this has been my week. So next week, and I paid my bills late. I'm gonna get late fees. Anyway, so we had to use some of the car money that we were saving to pay off the car for the next 10 months. Sweet Jesus. So that's been my week, and then the officer called me back about the rabies test. And I said, look, I paid for the rabies test, and since it happened on the weekend, you can't get it now, because they said, I understand that from Friday to Monday's 3 days, but it's the weekend. It didn't go out to the lab till today. And I said, but I didn't see them take any blood. And she says, oh no, they don't take out blood. They have to remove his brain stem. So then what was this thing that she was telling us that we didn't have to put him down? I don't know. So then the whole time, the only reason she was telling me not to put him down is because she wanted to take him into quarantine and charge me. I said, well, how much is that? I think she said it was like $1,000. So it's like a racket. I was like, she said, I know he doesn't have rabies. So it's a racket so they can make money. You know, and it was just here because the other places were, you know, telling, you know, talking about putting him down right away. You know, because he was dangerous. And so I said to her, so you wanted me to put him in quarantine? She said, I know he doesn't have rabies. I said, okay, so what if we would have went with that option and I didn't put him down? You know, in other words, the other option was you got to put him down. The only way to test rabies is to remove the brainstem. So she was telling me those were my only two options. I mean, in a way, I'm glad it was my decision. It wasn't forced, but basically, I really didn't have choices here. Yeah, what she said, under no circumstances are you allowed to give him away. Because some guy offered. But my husband was like, the responsible thing is if we give you this dog and he hurts your child or someone else, then it is our fault. You know? So it was a racket. And then I said, okay, so what if I would have went with what you said and let him be quarantined and paid the $1,000? And she said, if he would bite, you would have to, you would have to keep him caged up all the time, and you would have to build him. It was just all of these things that, you know, we would have been fined, and all these horrible, you know, bad options for us. He would have had to be in an enclosed area all the time. And it was like, there really wasn't options here. I think what was best even for him was just to let him go to heaven, where he wouldn't be experiencing any pain at all, whatever was troubling his mind or his body. Every time I clean my daughter's wound, every time I see her suffering, going crazy because she can't draw, she can't do anything or share anything, I know that we did the right decision. But I'm still wondering if there was other options. And when my friend said rehabilitation, I was like, guilt started setting in. I kept saying, I killed my baby, I killed my baby, I killed my baby. And I was looking into, is there such a thing? Is there really such a, do we have that here? And I found that there was. There was a dog psychiatrist here in Houston that they try to rehabilitate dogs with bad behavior. And my son caught me and he was like, Mom, he's like scolded me. Mom, stop it, don't do that to yourself. It was time. It was time. I mean, he was the last one to accept it. But he said, Mom, he was not right. He was so wrong with him. He was grumpy. He was limpy. He was getting old before his time. It was what was best, Mom. Don't torture yourself. Stop looking at that sight. And the truth is, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. We don't know if it would have worked. And then I stopped crying and thought, is there something wrong with me that I'm not crying anymore? And when the nurse and the doctor who've been treating her hand, who removed the stitches and been treating her hand and giving her the shots, saw that, I mean the nurse and the assistant, they were like, oh my goodness, that is horrible. Who did that? You know, there are different people there every day, so you gotta explain it again. You know, I said my dog bit her. And she said, was he spanked? Did you spank him for that? But she wasn't trying to be mean. She actually started kind of kidding. And I just started, all I heard in my head was he punished? And I started crying again. You know, it was never about punishment. We just felt it was the responsible thing to do. God knows that's not what I wanted. I have a 16-year-old, 17-year-old cat that I expected to find dead one day. I expected that. But not for my dog to have to be put down 3 months before, 3 months before his 10th birthday because he went insane. In the back of my mind, I thought it might come to that. But that wasn't what I wanted. No. Way in the world would I have wanted that? You know, and a few people told me, you did the right thing. And when I went to church, I was hoping to feel better. And all I did was cry the whole time because the pastor was preaching on death. And, you know, at the end, they always ask if you need prayer. I was like, I don't need prayer. But my husband said, come on, you need prayer. I was just hysterical, just crying and crying and crying. And they said they understand that this is not just a pet. He's your baby. He was your child, you know? So I finally went a day. I think I went one day without crying. And then I got this. I got a condolence card from the vet. And I'm like, dang, why'd I have to see that in the mail? And it's, you know, may your heart be healed during this time of loss. Let time heal the pain and love heal your heart. May you take comfort in knowing that others care. And it was signed by the whole staff. And I was on the way to the hospital, the clinic, and I was like, I really don't want to see this. I don't want to cry. So when I get home, I find this beautiful poem. This vet might be more expensive than PetSmart, but I was really thankful that it was done there. This is called the Rainbow Bridge. Just this side of heaven lies the Rainbow Bridge. Lies the Rainbow Bridge. When a beloved pet dies, it goes to the Rainbow Bridge. It makes friends with other animals and frolics over rolling hills and peaceful lush meadows of green. Our pets do not thirst and they do not hunger. The old and the sick are made young once more. The maimed and the ill become healed and strong. They are healthy and playful as we remember them in days gone by. Though happy and content, they still miss someone very special. Someone they had to leave behind. Together the animals chase and they play. But the day comes when a pet will stop and suddenly look into the distance. Their eyes will be bright and intent, eager bodies quivering, Suddenly recognizing you, your pet bounds quickly across the green fields and into your embrace. You celebrate the joyous reunion. You shall never again be separate. Happy tears and kisses are warm and plenty. Your hands caress the face you missed. You will never again separate. Happy tears and kisses are warm and plenty. Your hands will caress the face that you missed. You look once more into the loving eyes of your pet and know you never really parted. You realize that though out of sight, your love had been remembered. And now you will cross that rainbow bridge together and make Preston. I read that out in my patio while looking out into the green fields behind our apartment, which I thank God for all the time. And I just was hysterical, crying again. The tears were flowing again. I've been crying ever since. This was yesterday morning. I felt like somebody understood that pets will be in heaven with us. You may not believe that. People believe that there is no heaven, or people believe in heaven, but the pets have no souls. But there have been people who say that they have died and come back. You know, when they flatline and then they come back. And one lady said, I think more than one woman said this, that when they went to heaven, her pet was there to greet her. And it just made me look forward to the day I go to heaven. I mean, it already touched me that I would meet Jesus there and he would open up his arms and hold me. And there's no more tears and no more pain and no more sorrow. You know, and so my baby boy is in a better place. Whatever was bothering him is not bothering him anymore. And I believe that when I go through the gates of heaven, he's going to come running to me. And that he's going to be there to greet me too. And I don't care what anyone else believes. I believe that. So, and it brings me comfort and it gives me something to look forward to. So, anyway, I just knew that I could not do a makeup video, until I did this video. For some reason, it hits me most when I'm putting on makeup. I don't know why. I don't know why. It just does. And then I can't put on the makeup because it just all comes off. So I just pray to God that when I take my daughter to the Tuesday before Christmas, that that he's going to tell me that, she's going to be okay. But, my brother comes back on the 27th from New York, and we have plans to go to his house that day. And, so this Christmas, I don't know if I'm going to cook. I usually like cooking for Christmas. I like making my roasted pork, my pernil, and my flan, which is like a vanilla egg custard. At least that's what Puerto Ricans do. But I don't know if I'm going to cook. My brother won't be here, and I think I might just go, to whatever restaurant is open, and then we're going to go see The Hobbit. I just wish this didn't happen during Christmas time. This was the first Christmas in a while that I was like really excited for a long while. It wasn't even 10 yet. And I'm just really, really happy that we got to take that Thanksgiving ride. We got to take that nice Thanksgiving ride with Sonny, letting, him be out. Our car is horrible. It's full of white hair, but, I'm just really happy. We got to take that Thanksgiving ride and experience some happiness there. And my son made a really nice video that I'll leave the link for you to see, of the happy times we had with him.